If you're coming to Hampstead, North Carolina for a scouting trip and your first stop is a home showing, I'm going to tell you straight up, you may already be doing this trip backwards. The house is not the first decision. The setup is, because a pretty kitchen can distract you really fast. But after you move here, you're not living inside that listing photo. You're living the drive, the errands, the beach access, the insurance bill, the lot, and the weekday routine. And now that is what you need to test first. My name is Dennis Murphy. I'm a coastal North Carolina relocation specialist. I moved here from Long Island to Hampstead myself. So I know what it feels like to come here from out of state and try to figure out if this place actually works beyond the vacation version. So here is how I would use a Hampstead scouting trip if I were to do it again. Not the tourist version, the buyer version. So the first thing I would do is drive Hampstead like I already lived here. Not like I'm visiting, not like I'm on vacation, like it's a normal Tuesday. Hampstead is not built like an old downtown where everything circles around one main square. Daily life here is more spread out, and Highway 17 matters. You do not need to be scared of it, but you need to understand it. Where are your grocery runs? Where would you go for appointments? How often would you drive towards Wilmington? How often would you head towards Surf City or Topsail for the beach? Now that is the first reality check. Because close on a map and comfortable in real life are not always the same thing. A house can look perfect online, but if the daily pattern annoys you, that excitement fades really quick. The second thing I would check is the neighborhood setup. Not just the name of the neighborhood, the setup. And that is where relocating buyers can get caught. They see a builder name and a nice entrance sign, newer homes, pretty streets, and it feels super easy. But after you move in, the real questions are different. How tight are the lots? How much privacy do you actually have? Is it quiet or just quiet during the showing? Is it convenient to Wilmington? Is it better for beach access? This is the stuff that changes how you live. And this matters because Hampstead is not one identical experience. North Hampstead, South Hampstead, older communities, new constructions, homes farther back towards the water or more wooded areas, they can all feel different. Online, they may all look like Hampstead. In real life, the setup changes everything. The third thing I would test is the beach expectation. A lot of people look at Hampstead because they want access to Topsail Island without living directly on the island. For the right buyer, that can be a very smart move. But beach access and beach living are not the same thing. If your dream is walking onto the sand every morning with coffee, Hampstead may not feel close enough. If your goal is a practical full-time home, more neighborhood structure, easier mainland living, and the beach nearby, Hampstead makes a lot of sense. But you have to test that honestly. Do not just look at mileage, drive it. Well, drive from the neighborhoods you're considering to Surf City. Drive towards Topsail. Feel the route. Then ask yourself one simple question. Would I do this on a random weekday or only because I'm here visiting? And that answer tells you a lot. The fourth thing I would do is check the lot before the house. This is one of the biggest relocation buyer mistakes that I see. People walk into a beautiful home, see the kitchen, the flooring, the primary suite, and all of a sudden they stop looking at the property like a buyer. They start looking at it emotionally. But in coastal North Carolina, that lot matters. Look at the drainage, the backyard grade. Look at the side yard. Look at what is behind the property. A kitchen can easily be changed. A bad lot setup is much harder to fix. And a lot of that does not show up in listing photos. The fifth thing I would check before falling in love is the ownership cost. Not just the price, the real cost. Taxes, HOA, insurance, flood zone, wind and hail, roof age, deductibles, maintenance, and whether that specific property has risk factors. You need to understand that before making an offer. Two homes in the same general area can have very different ownership costs depending on the lot, age, structure, insurance requirements, and risk profile. That is why you do not fall in love first and ask the serious questions later. That is completely backwards. The goal of a Hampstead scouting trip is not to see the most homes possible. The goal is to leave with clarity. Which part of Hampstead fits your life? Which neighborhood setup makes sense? Which beach access feels realistic? That is a really productive trip. And that is how you stop chasing random listings and start making a real relocation decision. And that's how I help buyers just like you. We will build the plan first. We narrow the right town, the right setup, the right lifestyle, and then we look at homes through that lens. Because the right move to Hampstead is not just about buying a nice house. It is about buying into a daily life that actually works after the moving truck leaves. My name is Denis Murphy, and I made the move from Long Island to Hampstead And now I help relocation buyers just like you choose the right coastal North Carolina town, neighborhood, and home before they make an expensive mistake. So if you're thinking about moving to Hampstead, maybe Surf City, Topsail, Porter's Neck, or anywhere in the Wilmington area coastal corridor, let's have a relocation planning call. We'll talk through your timeline, budget, lifestyle, and what you should check before starting touring homes. All my contact information is in the video description. Call me, email me, text me, do whatever you want. I'm here to help. I made the same exact move, so I know it's not just about finding a pretty home. You need to find your desired lifestyle, and this move can be one of the greatest moves you ever made in your life. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Check out some of my other videos on my channel. We have a lot of answers to your questions. I appreciate you watching. Have a great day. See you in the next one.